All right then, ladies, let's get cracking. So this is like just a really basic overview of muscle. So you have got different muscle types. Obviously, we focus on the skeletal muscle. So these are all your muscles that are voluntary muscles that you're working in the gym, getting the gains. You've got smooth muscle. Obviously, that's involuntary, so that's all linked to your organs. And then we also obviously work the heart as well. So you've got the cardiac muscle, which is literally just the heart, and that is involuntary, doing its own thing in the background, isn't it, Noor, on the watch? Me and Noor are obsessed with Noor's heart rate. And then you've got fast and slow twitch fibers as well. So this can be changed through exercise or improved through exercise, but you're actually born with like genetics to be predisposed to either fast or slow, which is why some people are naturally just super quick and others kind of have to train a little bit more for that, and others are better at endurance things. So yeah, you have a mix and match of both, and different parts of the body have those as well. But that's just a little overview in case you didn't know that. Okay, so we're going to look at the importance of muscle. Jump in with any questions as we go as well. It's absolutely fine. And then hopefully between Case and I will answer the questions that you've put in the chat as well. So you know that I'm super obsessed with ladies 35 plus building muscle, maintaining muscle, not just for now and not just about how you look. Obviously, it's a factor, but for longevity, for future health, because the benefits are huge and completely underrated. So once we kind of hit 35, there's some studies saying potentially younger, but we won't go there. It's way too depressing. Muscle does start to decrease. And that also then has an impact on our hormones, on our metabolism, on our joint and bone density and support, posture. So it has a huge impact on our health, on our lifestyle. Now, you're at a huge advantage if you have been building muscle all of your life or using your muscles all of your life compared to ladies that are then looking at gaining muscle from 35 plus. It absolutely can be done. There's no doubt about that. You're just at a slight advantage if you were kind of doing it beforehand. And obviously, around this age as well, whether you want to admit it or not, we start going into our other little hormone phases, more kind of 40 plus, let's not go to 35, with perimenopause, pre-perimenopause. So the two kind of align, and the more muscle mass that we've got, and obviously the benefits of weight training, just help to kind of counteract some of those changes that start to occur. Now, a big thing, and I know that a lot of you ladies will say this, is that it does boost confidence. So again, it can be because of how you look, but also how you feel. So nothing kind of quite beats knowing that you can go in the gym and deadlift a decent weight. Sometimes more than your husband's, always a win, not me, unfortunately. But yeah, so boosting confidence, more importantly, improving posture. So obviously I work with mums, and posture is hugely affected from having babies and then feeding babies and just that day-to-day carrying them, etc. as well. So keeping muscle mass and weight training just helps with that improved posture. And then the knock-on effect is obviously less pain, how we walk, and then future health. So I will always go to the impact on future health is less aches, less pains, less injuries. And then functional movement. So, and I know I've chatted to some of you ladies about this already. Back pain is super common postpartum. And while we're navigating that whole new mum life, we are still bending, sitting, standing, carrying, lifting, twisting. If we're struggling with muscle mass, strength, back pain, these movements can be made harder. So the idea is that when we're training, we're looking at those functional movements and getting those muscles that we use every day nice and strong so that we can carry out our day-to-day activities and our body's just kicking in naturally. So a lot of what I do with you is teaching the body to yes, build strength, but to do movements where you don't have to worry about engaging so much because the body's stronger, it's used to doing it. So then you're less prone to injury, or you'll hear sometimes people put the back out so quickly, and it's just because there's an underlying weakness, and they'll say, all I did was pick a toy up and now I can't move. Our goal is to get nice and strong so that our daily functional movements, we're at less risk again of injury, and we can just go about our day, feeling stronger. Okay, any questions so far before we go into hormones? No, good stuff. Okay. Right, so hormones, big one, especially for us ladies. So muscle, and you've probably heard loads of this, and I'm hoping I explain this as best as I possibly can. So muscle, basically, in its simplest form, can process and get rid of crap from the body, basically. So the more muscle mass you have, it is able to function by taking any excess crap out of the system, and that includes hormones such as estrogen. So if you imagine the body has got nutrients, water, all of these hormones, blood, oxygen, everything is floating around the body. Muscle is partly responsible for metabolizing some of those products, and hormones are one of those products. So the more lean muscle mass you have, the more in balance your body actually is, the better it's able to function and be in what we call, and you'll have heard of this term, homeostasis, which is just balance. And it links that in with hormones as well. So if we have excess, or, and again, where we're going through this kind of pre-post baby phase or perimenopause phase, estrogen levels change, progesterone changes, even our insulin resistance can change throughout this period as well. If we've got more muscle mass, or we've got Claire in as well, if we've got a higher percentage of muscle mass, our body is able to break the excess estrogen down. It can support hormone production. So the aim is to keep that balance more consistent, basically, so that we have less of these peaks and troughs. The same goes for insulin. So I'll come on to the nutrition aspects in a second, but hi, Claire. With insulin, the muscle is able to, it has certain windows, particularly after exercise, which is what I'll touch on later, where if the muscles are burning fuel, they need feeding, the insulin is taken out of the bloodstream and used, basically. So insulin resistance is just that there's too much, in a simple form, too much sugar and energy floating around the body. It's got nowhere to go. It turns into fat, basically, which is where your calorie in, calorie out comes as well. And the muscle mass just helps to break that down, use it, because if our body is being used, it needs fuel. So if we're eating the right amount of food for us and the amount of movement we do and exercise we do and match it to our lean muscle, then we get that balance. If there's too much floating around and the muscles don't need it, or there's not enough muscle mass there, it builds. Weight gain occurs, fat occurs, and then all of these not very nice things start to kick into the body. Okay, so it's hugely about health as well. Have I made that clear? Does that make sense? Let me just check the chat. Okay, so when it comes to cortisol regulation, this is more about the actual exercise. So Farida, I know you mentioned it there. So cortisol is a big one for us ladies. Our body, if we are tired or restricting our calories too much, not eating enough of the right foods, like enough protein, enough of the good carbs, fruits, veggies, everything that supports the body. And then we are exercising too much. So it could be like lifting too heavy too many times a week. So going to your near 1 rep maxes, like 3 or 4 times a week, causes stress on the body. Like 5 HIIT classes a week, too much stress on the body, running every single day. So everybody is different when it comes to this. So it's learning what your body can handle, and we just monitor that through our energy levels. You know, take note of, are you sleeping enough to be able to do this amount of exercise? Are you eating enough to maintain this amount of exercise? Is your weight changing or fluctuating? Are you losing muscle? Are you gaining muscle? So there's lots of ways that you can track it. But regulating cortisol is more about the exercise that helps release the happy hormones, but we have to get that balance right. Cortisol can only be regulated if your sleep is good, your exercise is in balance with where your energy levels and the rest of your lifestyle is at. You're not stressing the body out anymore by, you know, eating constant rubbishy foods or starving yourself. Huge stress, which is why I'm not a massive fan of all the different fasting things, because of the stress that it can cause to the body. And high cortisol will just eat muscle. The first thing it will do, it will eat muscle. It just goes into survival mode. And the first thing the body gets rid of is muscle. If it's struggling, it will just eat it. Ideally, what is good sleep? Yeah, good question. Look, I'm still woken up twice in the night by Logan. So my sleep is broken. So the aim is to get to bed at like around 9, 9:30, which is what I tend to do. And then I'm up at around 5:30, 6. So I maximize the time, but I'm aware that it's broken, not every night. So you're aiming to get 7 hours, I would say, is a good night's sleep. But then you need to look into, you know, was it a deep sleep? Was it broken sleep? If you did wake up, how long were you awake for? And then track it. So is that happening every single night, or is it once a week? How do you feel the day after? Do you feel refreshed? Are you watching your phone before you go to bed? Like, what's your bedtime routine? So when we did the sleep challenge a few months back, the aim of that wasn't necessarily you need to get 8 hours solid sleep, because there's not many mums that can do that. But it's how can you tidy it up as much as possible? So can you listen to something before you go to bed, so it just gets the brain to switch off? So if we're having broken sleep, can we at least get like 2 hours of good quality sleep because we've switched our brain off and you know, read a book or listened to something, rather than watching or scrolling, and then it's not a solid or a good 2 hours sleep. So it's just tidying up those little things. It can even be like bringing in some meditation into the week. Anything that just allows the body to rest. Deep breaths are amazing for relaxing the body. So managing cortisol can literally be done with so many other mindful activities, like meditation, like sitting and stopping for 2 minutes and just taking 5 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, not even diaphragmatic, you know, engagement breathing, just deep breathing. If you check in during the day and find that you're shallow breathing, you are putting your body into fight or flight mode without even realizing it, which increases cortisol. If your mind is constantly racing with 1,000,001 things to do and you're not allowing it to switch off, it's increasing cortisol. So, you know, the food we eat, so many things that has an impact on cortisol. Long-term cortisol, you'll know if it's like constant fatigue, struggling to lose weight. There's different signs. Some people have it the flip side where they can't put weight on. What have we got in the chat here? So ideally, what's going to say? Amazing. I should be okay in that field. Sleep at least. Okay, fab. Nice one, Farida. It's hard. And look, we're all busy. We're all mums, but this is why I focus a lot on the lifestyle, because exercise is only one part of it. And this is why I make sure that everyone feels good on the day that they're exercising, because it's super important that we listen to our body. Years ago, if you'd have trained with me before we were mums, I'd have gone, I couldn't give a shit about your excuses, we're going hard. And then that's it. I don't want you walking out of the gym. Now it's completely different, and it's a journey that I've gone through as well. So it's just about making tiny little lifestyle changes that can just help balance your cortisol. Because if cortisol is out of whack, and we are stressed, then it knocks off all of the other hormones as well. Like your estrogen goes to whack, progesterone, all your ghrelin, and God, what's the other food one? Your two food hormones go to whack, so it can change your appetite, it can change the way your brain's functioning around food, craving sugar. So all of these are little cues that your body is just kind of either wanting rest or it's wanting more nutrition. So where you focus on the protein first, it's super, super important because this helps balance blood sugar, it helps fill the body, it supports your hormones. Next after that is your good fats. So taking a good omega-369 supplement, oily fish, avocados, nuts, so all of your good fats as well. Cooking with like cold press virgin olive oil, like all of these little things just help the body out in that respect as well. And again, we can't do it all. We just pick and choose the little things that we can do. Making sure that you are eating enough. So when it comes to calorie deficit, we should max, and this doesn't really apply to all of us, but max is a 500 calorie deficit. If you're breastfeeding, you need plus 500. So those ladies breastfeeding, don't even go there on a calorie deficit. Those ladies, and this would be more for any ladies that are, you know, like their fat percentage is much, much higher. I would only really be having those in a 3 to maybe max 400 calories if they could handle it. And the rest of the lifestyle is in balance as well. For you ladies, you don't need to be there, but that is the max. Go any more than that, your body can't handle it. And that should be worked towards. So you would start with like 100 calorie deficit, 200. And again, that's only if you're severely over. If you're trying to build muscle, you actually need a surplus of energy. So what you would do is eat to grow, and then you strip the fat. So you build the muscle with the food, with a little bit of chunk, as you might have heard me say. And then when you've got that nice muscle build, then you can start stripping the fat away. So there is a system. I don't always tell you the system that I'm working on with you, but I'll be doing it. And then you can start to strip the fat. Doing the two together is quite hard. It's like a real balance, which is why I ask if you've had breakfast, how you feeling, how much are you eating, because I need to know where you're at so that I can match it with the exercise as well. Okay. And then just with weight training in general, it has a huge impact on thyroid. Again, something else that can go a little bit haywire if everything else is out of whack or if we're stressed. This obviously can be genetic as well. So thyroid can be quite complex. But again, just weight training and muscle mass can just help to regulate that a little bit more as well, because obviously weight training and muscle mass help the metabolism, which is all linked to thyroid function also. And a big one supports the aging process, which is why I say we're in our prime, ladies. We're in our prime. So yeah, obviously we want to stay as strong as we possibly can for as long as we can, keeping joints and bones strong as well. And we don't want to be losing muscle at this age because it's harder. Looking young forever is the goal. I'm there with you, no, I'm there with you. Children have aged me, but you know, weight training continues. Can defy the odds. Okay, any more questions? Tell me if I'm going too fast or waffling. No offense taken here. And I'm not overloading. Okay.
Great so far, Gemma. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Farida. Okay, so metabolism and fat loss. Now I know everyone's intrigued about this cheeky one. So muscles, they need food basically. So the more muscles we've got, the more they're going to chomp away everything that we put in the body. Simplest way of putting it. So muscles increase your resting metabolic rate. So when you're sitting down, muscles are constantly burning in the background, which is where the actual weight training comes in. So if you do like a resistance, even a resistance cardio session or a heavy weight session, I will say to you, make sure you eat for the rest of the day and the day after, because your metabolism just rockets and the muscles need that energy, because then they won't grow. The brain will just be like, oh no, she's not eating. So we've just done a really hard workout. She isn't feeding us. Sod this. We're not growing. We're going to shut down. So it's really, this is where your nutrition is key when it comes to building muscle. So ideally, before you work out, the body wants to know that it's safe, and you can give it a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbs, like literally a small snack, a mouthful of Greek yogurt and a cracker or banana or whatever. 45 minutes, go into your training session. And then within 45 minutes after, another either little snack or go for your lunch, dinner, whatever it is. The body always needs to feel safe that you are going to feed it. Otherwise, it won't burn and it won't want to grow muscle. The body will always protect itself. Muscle, like I've said, is the first thing that will go. It will slow it down and protect the energy burn out if you're not fueling it correctly. So it's quite complex, and it always depends on what your goals are. So if you're really wanting to build muscle, which is like full on strength training, you need to be in a bit of a calorie surplus. If you are going for like growth and like hypertrophy, then we kind of need to be spot on with those calories. And then if we're going for fat loss, so we've either already built the muscle or we're just carrying a too higher of a fat percentage, you would drop the weight, and that would be more where you go into, and I'm going to go into it. Okay, so we'll go into it in a second. Different rep ranges, and then the nutrition would be a bit of a decrease on your calories. So again, this is why it's really important to get the two to kind of work together to then match the training, and then all your lifestyle things on top of that as well. So again, I don't overload you with all of this, but it's what I will think about when I'm working with you or planning your programs around this as well. And hopefully this helps you understand it a little bit more. So the more muscle we have, the more we're going to be increasing the calorie burn at rest, definitely on those days that you're working out. And then it just links in with that long-term vitality. So I'm sure you all feel this, that when you've trained, you've got more energy that day, you just generally have more energy, and that just continues. Like, you stop, then you just lose it. Don't use it, you lose it. It's true. And I don't know about you ladies, but if for whatever reason I can't train for the week, I feel crappy, I feel sluggish, I'll lose that go. It's exactly the same. And the aim is to just maintain that. Okay, anything else on metabolism? Any questions with that?
I do have a question actually.
Go.
So as you know, my goal is to build muscle, lose fat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I find myself always on the days when I'm training,
Yeah.
I tend to focus on protein intake. I increase the protein intake. And the days that I'm not training, I find myself binging on carbs just to get that extra energy. So I'm torn between whether or not I'm supposed to. I know I'm not supposed to be in calorie deficit, but I can't seem to lose the excess fat.
So
And
would you say you eat enough calories?
not every day.
Okay.
Just not consistent.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, no. And consistency is the hardest thing. So really good point. We look at it over the week. We definitely look at it over the week. Muscles repair and grow on those days that we're not training. So if you do a hard session, which you have been, the next day is when the body still needs a lot of protein. So ideally, we track everything over the week. So we want to hit the protein goal every single day. If you can hit the protein, the carbs and fat will just kind of fall into place. But the body will hold on to the fat if it doesn't feel it's being fed enough. It's just a really shit thing about building muscle and trying to lose fat. And I know it's real. A lot of this is mindset, and I've been through it myself. It can be really hard when you,
It is.
yeah, I know, it's really hard. And I've been there several times. I still go through it now. Like I really have to have lots of chats with myself, but to build strength and muscle, we have to eat. We just have to eat. When you get to a point then that you think, okay, now I want to strip a little bit of fat, then you can make some tweaks. But the goal is to, especially when your body is already, you know, tired and stressed in different ways, just being a mum,
Yeah.
then we need to look at consistently feeding it that protein over the week. And if your body is craving those carbs, it's telling you it's hungry. It's just saying, I'm tired and I'm hungry, feed me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
it's a big mind one, no, it's a big mind one.
It is, and it's getting more difficult, as we age. After post 35, I feel like the metabolism kind of starts slowing down. So it's not as easy as when I was in my 20s. So it's a
Yeah,
bit tricky.
oh no, absolutely. And the changes that it's gone through as well, just add on to that. But there's other tweaks that you can add in as well. But it's definitely looking at, are you eating enough? Make sure it's enough going in and enough protein. And then it could just be that you increase the walking, like increase walking each day, which could be a little bit of a fat burn on top of like your heavy weight sessions.
I'm doing that now. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's looking, and to be fair, I'm doing that at the minute myself, to be honest. I'm trying to maintain where I'm at, but strip a tiny bit. And all I've done is increase my walking, and I've probably tried to drop my carbs a tiny bit, but I love food. So I'm more about let's get more steps in and just keep eating. But you've got to know your own body, and it's just trial and error. Like it's, you've all done things in the past and you know what works and what doesn't work, and matching that as well. Okay. So yeah, with the weight training, improving sleep and mood. So I know Nora's had some cracking heavy sessions in the past and had the best sleep that her watch has ever recorded.
Yes, I have.
And her mood was amazing the next day. So yeah, like huge impacts on sleep and moods with all the hormones that are released as well. Improving metabolic and hormone health, reducing the risk of certain diseases as we age, big one. I'm big into making sure that we balance our mind as well. So it's all well and good having the body taken care of, but we have to make sure we're looking after our minds as well, especially as busy mums, hence the challenges. Not that we've had one this month and giving you a break, but making sure that we're just switching our heads off, because it's not easy. But if our heads are constantly busy and we're not getting a break, then there's no point doing all this amazing training, because the body can't handle it if the mind isn't rested as well. More long-term energy, less risk of injury and pain. It's a huge one. Stronger bones and joints. So running around with children, having the energy, less risk of injury and pain now and in the future, and keeping bones and joints strong. Like the stats on this are huge in terms of bone density and joint strength. You'll meet a lot of people that don't exercise and they struggle with joint pain or injuries quite often, compared to those that are moving and strengthening their joints through resistance training. So yeah, and that's where your nutrition comes in to support that as well. Okay, so I've gone through most of this with nutrition, but basically protein is your focus. So hitting your protein each day consistently if possible. So over the whole week, if you slip one day, try and catch up for the rest of the week. And that's not just for growth, but it is maintenance and repair as well. And then, yeah, just a handful of carbs and good fats to go with it. Now, look, I'm all about balance, 80-20. I've spoken about this before. In my 20s and 30s, I've tried all the different diets out there. You get to an age where life is short, you still need to enjoy yourself. So it's about balance. And it's also got to be something that you can sustain, which is why I'm not into quick fixes. They just stress the body out. You can't maintain them. And then you put everything back on because most of the time it's only water that's lost anyway. You just can't sustain that for the rest of your life. So it's trying to find something that works for you, and we can swap and change that as we go, but it has to be something that is sustainable. And then the hardest part is just being organized with food, to, you know, to maintain that consistency at the same time. Staying hydrated. So staying hydrated is a big one, not just to keep our brains functioning or mum brains functioning, but fascia. So muscles that are super, super tight can sometimes be the fascia that surrounds the muscles. It fills the whole body, needs hydrating. If this is super tight, then muscles struggle to get stronger and bigger. And the way we can help the fascia is with lots of water, as well as massages, foam rolling, some mobility work, which is why I'm not against anything like Pilates or yoga. It's really good for that mobility, for the joints, but it's also good for stretching the fascia as well. So yeah, that's a big one there with water, and you all know about water, bang on about it all the time. Pre and post workout snacks. So this is what I was saying earlier. Don't go too long without food, especially if your body is used to it, because it will spike cortisol as well as mess around with all your blood sugars. Definitely, again, if you're wanting to get your exercise in and maintain those gains, ladies. You know, if you're really focusing on wanting to build strength and muscle, we have to eat. You have to eat. It's exhausting to push yourself that much without having the food spot on where possible as well. Okay. Case, you want to jump in? I'm going to get Casey now just to go through rep ranges. Again, just go through any questions you've got with him, and then I'll come back on in a sec, ladies.
How do I make this thing move?
Stop.
Hello. Right. So Jem's asked me to talk about your rep ranges for those that follow the online programs, as well as guys who get trained in person. So one of the two things Jem really wanted me to talk about was building strength and growing muscle, and what the differences are. So you can get really technical and use a lot of percentage work and stuff like that, but I don't think that's really relevant to people that are just going to the gym just for general health and well-being. So when we talk of also training in between a rep range, so let's start with the building strength. So ideally, anywhere between 4 and 6 reps is to build strength. However, it doesn't mean that you just do 4 reps at a set weight or 6. So when we're doing strength, we need to move the weight fast and effectively. So let's say you're doing 40 kilo on the squat and you're going for 4 to 6 reps. Say you get to 4 and you know you've still got a few left in you. It's still better to push those extra 2 reps to make sure that you haven't got, you do the 5th rep and you think, oh, I'm not sure if I'll get the 6. Put the weight back, re-rack the weight. That's really good for strength. You always want like 1 rep in reserve, as we call it. However, with muscle growing, so if we're doing 40 kilo on the squat and we get to 8 and we're like, oh, we've still got 4 more, this is easy. We get to 11 and we're like, we don't know if we've got 1 more. It's still best to go for it, because muscle building, you want to go as close to failure as you can. Whereas with strength training, you always want to leave 1 rep in reserve. You want to be able to move the weights really fast for strength, and you can grind a bit for the muscle growth. Anything over 15, then we start getting into this endurance or resistance cardio fat loss stage. There doesn't seem to be any real benefit to go in over, say, 12. Again, that higher rep range is just going to touch on the cortisol. It's going to spike the cortisol, because you're not really doing cardio and you're not really doing weightlifting. So like Jem mentioned before, it's better to stick to 4 to 6 to get strong, 8 to 12 to grow muscle, and then do things like walking, swimming, low intense cardio, long durations of LISS. So steady state, especially for those of us over 35, this seems to be the best in terms of managing stress hormones with the type of training that we're looking for. Do we mean per set or per session? So example, 12 per set, and then, so we want to do, yeah, so you're going to do 3 sets of 8 to 12. So there's different ways of doing that as well. You can do a set of 12 and you want to push it right up to 12, then a set of 10, again, 10 really hard, and then a set of 8. And you can increase the weight each time. So your last set will really push you. But ideally, there'll always be 1 strength exercise and then 2, 3 muscle growing exercises per session, ideally. Number of sets a week. Studies seem to say that anywhere between, say, 6 to 20 sets per week. So if you did 2 workouts a week and you were doing legs, for argument's sake, you can do as little as 6 sets a week. So 3 sets in one workout, 3 sets in your second workout. But again, you have to be pushing really hard. And then as time goes on, you can increase the sets. But again, I found that this stuff is more like geared towards the bodybuilding side. They always throw in these high, 20 sets per week. It's for people, it's their job. Again, like I said, if you're over 35, even myself, I've dropped my sets as the years have gone on. And I found that doing less but more intense is really helping. I seem to be able to recover better, and I'm not as white for the rest of the day or the next day. You still have to go to work and, you know, deal with kids and stuff. It's okay when you're 20. If we've been assigned an 8-12 rep, sometimes I tend to take a 5-10 second break because I'm no. If you're assigned 8 to 12, I would do a set of just 1 set, even if you only get 8, then take a 90-second rest and then do the second set. So if it's 8 to 12, that's just giving you a bracket. So maybe you didn't put enough weight on the bar. So say you put, for argument's sake, 20 kilo, and you got 12 reps easily. Then the next, you rest your 90 seconds, and then the next set, put an extra 5 or 10 kilo on, so that you try and hit the lower mark. Big rest as well during Ramadan. I would suggest taking at least a minute and a half. Because also, when we talk about strength training, it also depends on the exercise. So normally, from what I've seen, Gemma tends to program the strength exercises first in your workout. So those are the big ones you're going for, heavy weight. And then as you're fatiguing throughout the session, the rep ranges will go a little bit higher to muscle growing, and the exercise selection tends to get a little bit easier. So if you would start like first exercise day, deadlift, you're going to push that really hard to get your 4 to 6. So maybe the first set you do 6 reps at 60, then the second set you're going to do 80 for 5, and then your last set at 100 for 6. Then your next exercise might be something like a lat pull down, and then you're going to go for your 8 to 12. So it's just a bracket. Use it as a guide. So if you put 30 kilo and you go for 12 and you get 10, that's a good place to stay. Then keep the weight because you're inside the bracket now, and do your second set and try and match it best you can. But yeah, definitely do Ramadan, takes longer rests. Different muscle fibers and energy systems challenge the body constantly. Yep. So like I say, from what I've seen, we've always programmed in strength, and then you go into muscle building within the same session. So that also shows that the body really likes that, because then you're increasing blood flow through these accessory movements. 1 second. Close it. Right, finding balance. Again, like I just said there, 2 to 3 days a week is optimal for weight training. There's been some very famous people that have used this. Arnold himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger, started with 2 to 3 days a week and won a lot of competitions using that. There's quite a few high-level bodybuilders that use this. It does show, again, that 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on works really well. And again, 2 sessions a week with optimal volume, like say anywhere between 6 and 20. So again, we're sticking to the lower side. So the 6 reps per week, 6 sets, sorry, per week. It's easy to spread across 2 sessions for each muscle group. And your weight training should always be the core of your workouts. That's why Gems wrote a supplement with cardio and mobility. So I think a lot of you guys do Pilates and things like that. So make sure you get in your 2 sessions in a week, and then add, if you want Pilates, or if you like something a bit more strenuous, maybe you like boxing or spinning or swimming or something like that. That could be your 3rd session of the week. But the 2 weightlifting is really important, because that's what's going to help with the fat loss. That's what's going to help with your hormones more than going to Pilates or yoga. Even though you're relaxing and stuff like that with the yoga, and it might feel mentally very nice, it's not going to affect your body as much as the weight training. It's really important to hold on to muscle. And another thing with that, when you go to the gym and you're lifting weights, don't think about losing fat. Don't think about calories, how much am I burning. Go in there with the objective of getting strong and building muscle. Because I've worked with a lot of people as well, that when they come to the gym, they're obsessed to see how many calories they're burning when they're lifting weights, or like, can we do a lot of supersets and things like this because I'm sweating and I'm not. That's not what weightlifting's about. We lift weights to build muscle and get strong. Walking, cycling, swimming, just moving around throughout the day, and calories is what is going to burn fat and build muscle. But never treat the gym as a calorie burning session. Treat it as a muscle building, like exert yourself, push yourself really hard. Don't fanny about in there, really. A lot of people will go and they'll rush between machines and take very little rest and go, oh, I've had a great workout because I'm sweating. Well, you can go sit on a bike for 30 minutes and sweat. That's what that's for. So get in, push really hard, lots of intensity, 2 to 3 workouts a week with weights, and then add in cardio. You can do walking every day, add in the Pilates or yoga or some swimming, something like that. It's great. And then rest. That's why we said 2 to 3 days. Make sure you're hitting your protein. That's the most important one. Whether you want to build muscle or lose fat, protein must be hit. And then overall calories is second. You don't need to cut carbs or fat or which is better. Again, because we're not pro athletes, it doesn't really matter which energy source we're using, whether it's fat or carbs. But protein is the main one because we can't store it. We can store fat and we can store carbs. So, yeah, that's where the growth happens. 2 very hard sessions a week. Like, push yourself. You should be trying to set PBs all the time. And
Jasmine asked about how to get to your 1 rep max, how to increase strength gradually, safely.
And how to increase 1 RMs, 1 rep maxes.
But Jasmine's 5-6 months postpartum now, just got to the 20 bar.
So let's say we're doing deadlift, and we've Gems prescribed 4 to 6 reps for the strength. We'll be doing that. So then we want to hit your 4 to 6, log it. So if you're doing 20 kilo for deadlift, 4 reps, week 1. Week 2, we should be going for 5 to 6 reps. Okay, say you get 5 reps. Then week 3, you get to 6. So now you've hit your target for deadlift. So we've done 20 kilo. Week 1, 4, week 2, 5, and week 3, 6. Now increase by 5 kilo. And then start again with 4, 5, 6. But same on the drop down sets. So if you did your 4 to 6 first, then you do your 6 to 8. It's all about logging. You have to keep a log of what weights you're doing and pushing that way. Like I said, with the strength training, it's about speed and power. And I'd really focus on just your mindset as well when it comes, especially when it comes to strength training. You need to go in the gym with a bit of a like, I'm going to lift X for X today. Like you need to get yourself a bit more pumped up by it.
You do this and
Yeah, so you're very competitive. And that's the main thing with strength training. It's a little bit different to the muscle building. You can almost get away sometimes with, because if you're not feeling 100% when you're trying to build muscle, but you can still have a hard session but not hit your weights. With strength, it's a little bit different. My brain is my biggest problem, yeah. Being scared to lift the weight. Is that what you mean, Claire? Fear. I think if you go in, like say, predetermined before the session, like mental block, yeah. So I struggle with this on certain exercises. I found doing, so let's say you want to do, I don't know, 50 kilo at a set exercise, go 45 and do more reps to build confidence. So I always say to people I work with, if you can do 5 reps of 80, for argument's sake, you're going to do 1 at 100. And tell yourself when you take the weight out the rack, it's going to feel heavy. It's going to feel heavy. So then it almost doesn't surprise you. I found that really helped with me. So if I unrack the weight, I'm like, oh God, this is so heavy. But what I've told myself the whole session, it's supposed to feel heavy. It's supposed to feel heavy. I found that really helps with me. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that worked with me and the 60 kg definitely. Yeah, Jazz, that's it. But you have a think box, stand outside before you touch the bar. Think about your technique, you breathe in, you brace in, and before you have a chance to think of anything else, get under the bar and go. That really works well. Is cutting down the panic. It's like squatting or deadlifting. People will go down, grab the bar, and then they sit there for a minute thinking, or can I do it? Have a checklist. So right foot forward, left foot forward, brace, right hand lift. It's don't give a chance. Yeah, don't think. Just cut the thinking down. Don't give yourself a chance to think about the lift. Or put a timer. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. It's not about, because your body doesn't know how much it is. It just knows how much force to put into it. So, and attack every weight as if it's your max. So when you lift the bar or you're lifting 100 kilo, it's the same intention. That's really good as well. So you're priming your central nerve. You're telling yourself 20 kilo, 100 kilo feels the same. And you lift with the exact same force, the exact same mindset. So even if the bar flies off the floor at 20, you go in with that force as if you were lifting 100. Yeah, it is. And that's something you learn as well. That's it, yeah. And you'd also train in your brain as much as you train your body when it comes to really heavy lifting. Yes, exactly. It's always in the mind. Even if you listen to these professional strongmen and powerlifters, they'll say it's scary. It's scary. It's not. They get scared like everyone does. So they have to train their mind, visualize it, have a checklist, and attack the bar with full pout, whether it, like say, from the warm up all the way to the max. Any other questions? The biggest tip is, yeah, definitely attack the weight. And so for Jasmine, like if you want to increase your 1RM, whatever your warm up is and your working weights, you should have the same intensity. Attack it with full pout, like really give it some. Right. Yeah.
All right, ladies. Right, I'm gonna stop sharing and